This show is presented by the 323 Network. You can watch all your favorite 323 friends and shows on the 323 Network YouTube channel, follow us on all social media platforms at 323read, and support us as we continue to grow at patreon.com/323read. That's 323REID.
Maybe I'll look on DraftKings and see what the over-under odds are on World War III. I will say that is the ultimate vibe killer. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was at B-Dubs getting the boneless wings, which I was also pissed off at them because I saw that online it said you could get 20 boneless wings and a large fries and a drink, and you could share it. So we went there to share all that, and what happens when I get it's supposed to be $16? I get there and it's they tell me it's $25. So I don't know what to do with them, and I'm just hanging there. The first thing that pops up is I see they got College World Series on, and then all of a sudden there's a U.S. sends missiles over to Iran. And I'm now we're going to war while I'm at B-Dubs. Ultimate vibe killer. It's a vibe killer. War breaking out in the middle of a Buffalo Wild Wings during the College World Series. Not a good time. Actually, it wasn't even the College World Series. It was it was even sad. It was even a sadder place to die if a nuclear war started. I think it was Premier League lacrosse was on. So I would have died watching some type of college lacrosse or pro lacrosse or something.
Be a bad place to snap back, right? World War III.
It really would. That's a good top 5 in the future. Top 5 worst places to be if nuclear war breaks out.
I had an idea for a short that was basically what it would be like if untold stories of the snap. Because the whole thing is half of everybody got snapped away.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure some of those people were on airplanes, so they just get snapped back into the middle of the sky. You know what I mean?
That's true. I've always wondered that, yeah.
Also, you never return to the same place in space and time. So, where we were 5 years ago, we're trillions of miles away. Mm-hmm. So you could just snap back into the middle of the void of space if it's the same place. There's a lot of course correction that has to be done by the snapper. Be all right, bring everybody back, but don't change anything that happened, but make sure they're in a safe place where they land so they can come in. And then what if, you said, the old Louis C.K. bit where he's after you're dead and all of a sudden somebody's hey, your wife's going to be here right now. What? I'm dating. What the fuck? What if, you moved on? Fucking it's been 5 years. You got new boo. You know what I mean? You got new boo in the house. You got all of a sudden fucking your wife coming in fucking being a buzzkill.
Yeah, because no time has changed for her.
Man, they come back. They're mad. They're hey, I was just taking a shit right there. All of a sudden you got a wife and a 3-year-old. It's well, fuck. We mourned you. We mourned you for a year and a half.
We didn't know what happened.
18 months you were gone, shit, you come back.
Yeah, the Avengers just quit. We didn't think anything was going to happen.
They were they moved on. They were on other shit,
Yeah.
The Dolphins had come back. The Dolphins were back in Venice. We were happy about it,
Now everybody's fucked up again.
Now I got 2 wives.
I did always think that was an untapped potential. There's a lot of untapped potential with what could have happened in those 5 years. I always thought I thought they could have you could have reformatted that show on HBO, The Leftovers, into kind of what happened in that in between time. Could have done a lot of the same thing. Could have done some deep spiritual soul searching in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's a $1 million idea if anybody wants to help us write it. The Snapback Chronicles.
Come on, Marvel. Come on, Disney.
Come on.
We've gotten on Disney before.
Written by 2 brown people. Let's go.
That always works out with the
DEI jalapeno.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 323. I am your host, Reed Murphy, on a beautifully hot, stanky, stinchy, sweat-drenching Monday night. It's Tuesday morning for you, and it's even hotter here in Virginia, apparently. It's just nasty out, but I hope you all are staying cool. I know we got the ultimate person to keep you cool, the cool guy himself, the Big Chief Burrito, Luis Martinez, is in the house. How you doing, bro?
You know, out here not loving them hoes. 72 degrees average in San Diego. Big reason that I'm out here.
Man, what was it? I think it got to 100 today. I think it got to 100.
You guys are annoying. You know, global war. Good news is it's all media hype. Don't worry about it. It's not real. It's just your perception of reality is that you're burning alive, but it's not happening.
No. And look, man, we got World War III on the horizon. We don't got to worry about this for much longer. It'll be all right. We're living in the now. YOLO. Talking about the NBA Finals. That's how we're going about our days. Oh, man. Dude, I don't know how you felt about it as a whole. Overall, I think, you know, as a basketball fan, it's not my favorite of the sports, but, you know, football has my heart. But I got a soft spot for basketball, NBA, especially the playoffs, the finals. I'm always finding my way there. I'm always finding myself interested, even when other people are. We talked about this last week with Zoo. But, you know, I think if you're a basketball fan and you're just a fan of the sport, this finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers was a good one. I think that it had a lot that you could ask for. It had some pure basketball in it. It had a lot of hype, had a lot of fun moments. You didn't have to worry about too much celebrity stuff. You didn't have to worry about Stephen A. getting too excited because he didn't care to be there. He'd rather play solitaire. And it got to a Game 7. That's what you want. You want a Game 7. It's one of the best things to hear in sports is Game 7. And we got that. Might have been a little disappointing, if I could say, with Tyrese Haliburton, star magic maker for the Indiana Pacers and number one most wanted target on this show from Luis and Scott Elliott, especially Scott. My God, that's a hype man for hate right there. is hating the Haliban. But Tyrese Haliburton, he got hurt early in the game. If you
thoughts and prayers. If
you listen to this show, and I'm not the type to say I was right. I'm the type to say I was wrong. I love celebrating when we're wrong about the show. But I was right last week when I said don't play that man. Save yourselves for next season. There's more than likely you're not going to win this championship, and you got that calf strain in Game 5. Save the man. Put him on ice. Because if he pushes that thing, he's going to tear his Achilles. And that's what happened last night in Game 7. He tore his Achilles early on in the game. Game was tight through the first half, but Oklahoma City took it away in the second. And on the back of Finals MVP and League MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Oklahoma City Thunder are your 2025 NBA champions. Congrats to them. How do you feel about it as a whole? How do you feel about the Thunder winning this?
Congrats to the city of Seattle. Because it wouldn't be a much better story if fucking Seattle finally, was out here winning this shit.
I mean, Seattle Supersonic is a better name than Thunder anyway. I mean, we've always known that.
You're right. From there's a Knicks fan and there's the sports fan, right? So the sports fan is saying there's a lot of great basketball there. It was great for basketball geeks. It was great for people that like this fast moving, good defense, good passing offenses. Coming out party for OKC. People in the know already know Shai was a top player. You can call him a foul hunter, whatever you want. But they got it done, man. And they built that team. They resisted the urge to put all their chips in for like another aging superstar. They took, my boy Isaiah Hartenstein from the Knicks, which was probably the best free agent acquisition last year. They took the pieces. They didn't go all in and try to trade for Durant or fucking Paul George or, any of these other aging superstars that could have maybe made a little bit of a difference. And they stuck to their team building and they were paid for it. So, congratulations to OKC, the Thunder. Big, small market team makes good. Why not? I mean, there's a lot of great storylines here. Unfortunately, because the NBA continues to push LeBron and Curry, and they focus all their Christmas games and all their primetime stuff around the superstars from 3 to 7 years ago, the modern casual NBA fan was like, what the fuck's going on? Who's this? What Indiana and fucking Oklahoma City? Well, where's New York? Where's fucking Boston? Where's the other teams? And so yeah, from a ratings and popularity perspective, they're not doing. From a basketball perspective, the NBA is doing well. There's never been more talent in the league than there is now. So it's just a matter of whether they throttle the OKC Thunder, change the rules so some of these bigger teams have a better chance against this methodical small market team building. Indiana and fucking Oklahoma City? God damn, what is this fucking the XFL? And then as a Knicks fan, like I said, thoughts and prayers to Haliburton, Tatum, both wearing 0. All 3 players with torn Achilles all wore 0. Lillard, Tatum, and Haliburton all wore the number 0, all torn Achilles. Mm-hmm. It's not like we have any experience with this with the Warriors and KD, where you maybe shouldn't come back from a calf strain that fast because it puts extra strain on your Achilles. Because it's the exact same fucking thing that happened to KD. Right? He's dealing with a calf and ankle area, that whole Achilles area. And as somebody who's dealing with heel issues right now in my life, that whole area gets fucked up when something gets fucked up. And the fact that you make this cat play or allow this guy to play in a deciding game 7, you got to, from a sports perspective, it's like you have to do it, right? But it's like tanking. It's like everything else. You'd like to think that smarter voices would prevail, but OKC is now on the verge of a, I don't know if it's going to be a dynasty, but they have a clear-cut ability to make a run in the next couple of years before they get with cap issues. And the East is wide open. The East is the least, and it's wide open because the two of the top 3 teams lost their superstar. New York, who knows what's going to happen with them? Cleveland, Orlando made some moves. Houston made some moves. So I think it sets up an interesting landscape for the next couple of years, because I think as fans, we think that these we're used to these dynasties and these runs lasting multiple years, but with the new hard cap, the new second apron stuff, the windows are shorter. I think the windows are not 5 to 7, 4 to 6 years. I think the windows right now are 2 to 3 years for most teams. So, does OKC have a fucking 5 to 7 year window where they can win multiples? Yes, but that's going to have to depend on how they these pieces come up and how they replace certain pieces. Like Denver replaced pieces, but they weren't the same, and they couldn't double up. And we haven't had repeat champions in a while. So a lot of interesting storylines. But congrats to OKC. And what was your overall feelings about the series?
I mean, overall, I enjoyed it. And it kind of went a lot of the way that we expected. And we were saying before that it's, before it got into it, and while we were still kind of had some hope for the Knicks to get in there, that the obvious nightmare scenario for the NBA would be Oklahoma City, Indiana, because like you said, that's a UFL championship kind of thing going on there. That's like something in college. But we also knew it would be great pure basketball, and that's what we got. And we knew it would be hard fought. Indiana, one of the hardest schedules in the playoff run, and they were just historic throughout. And they lit it up. They made it fun. They made it a worthy fight for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Everybody had them as the expected favorites because of Shea's performance, because of everything on that team. I mean, you didn't even need that much from Chet Holmgren, it's like that's one of the big young stars. You finally got something in Game 7, but you didn't really need that much from him. You just needed Shea to light it up, and
they lost Game 1.
Yeah, and they lost Game 1. Like that's when a series starts, when somebody wins on the road, and that's where we got it. That's how you knew it would be a fight throughout. And honestly, what was it? Was it Game 4 that Indiana lost? Should have taken right there, but they gave it up. I think that was the game that Oklahoma City only made 3 threes through that game. It was just these knockout moments happening throughout the series. So I thought it was a lot of fun. It made me very interested and have a lot of respect for Indiana. It finally gave me the look at OKC that I'd been waiting to get all year, because like you were saying, because of how the NBA pushes their national lineup, what are you getting? You're getting Golden State Lakers all the time. You're getting Sixers and Clippers
Knicks,
games.
Boston.
Knicks, Boston.
Miami. Yeah.
Right. Like you're getting all of that, but you're not getting a lot of OKC, and I just keep hearing about them, and it's so cool to me, and I have so much respect, and I'm very happy for their GM Sam Presti for what he's been able to do with this team that bottomed out and did the right thing, had to bottom out for a couple of years, mounted up those draft picks and is stuck to the board. It's what gives me a little bit of hope for the Wizards, having a Sam Presti disciple and a team of young dudes that you're trying to build up. It's not
exaggerated eye roll in
none
3,
of them are Shea, but I very much am happy for Presti and that this has worked out. And it's also terrifying because you realize the Oklahoma City Thunder have 11 first-round picks over the next 5 years from this point. They have 11 first-round picks over the next 5 years, and they have 16 second-round picks over the next 5 years. They can just keep mounting stuff up, and if they really keep hitting on these talent and hitting on these targets like they have, obviously the salary cap is going to become an issue when you start having to pay these young dudes that you already have on the team. But you can theoretically have a great chance of continuing to just reload and getting more young stars to build around Shea. They even have, I think it was the number 12 pick last year, Nikola Topic, who, it's had some good hype, it's had some good excitement. He's been on ice all year. He still has to debut next year, so you're still getting another cool piece to, play around with. And I think the Thunder, it's like you said, we're used to the dynasty thing in sports, but realistically, over however many years in recent finals, the champions have, they've won their championship and have failed to make it out of the first or second round, I think for the last 5 years, something like that, where it's been hard as hell to repeat in this league. Oklahoma City, I do think, has the best chance of finally doing a repeat in this sport. But, we'll just see. In the meantime, they're going to have fun. They're going to put up 80. And I hope it puts them into more of a national spotlight. I hope it makes the league and hopefully the new league partners like NBC and Prime decide to really capitalize and push into the kind of old school narrative that the NBA had on TV, which is pushing these young stars and pushing the stars and making them the face, not the market, the big picture item for how you're selling this league and selling the games. And it should be fun. And like I don't want to talk about the Kevin Durant trade over the finals. I thought it was really shitty. I thought it really sucked that the Kevin Durant trade broke yesterday before, hours before the finals. Of course that's going to break and dominate, the headlines and dominate the coverage going into the finals. Is Kevin Durant, 37 years old, still good though, by the way. Like, everybody, we keep bringing up the age, but dude was still balling last year. You're still getting 27 points per game. 37-year-old Kevin Durant getting traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets, and the Suns just perpetually putting themselves into hell. We don't need to cover that over the Thunder. But now that the game's done, and like you said, thoughts and prayers to Tyrese Haliburton, I felt really, really heartbroken for him in that, because, like you said, smart minds can say don't play, but what can you expect from your star player? What can you expect from a superstar on a team? You're going into, the last couple games of your championship run, sit out? No, they're never going to do that. Tyrese Haliburton never would have done that. That's just, it's how it had to happen.
Jalen Brunson wouldn't have done that.
No.
Tatum wouldn't have done that. Like, no. If you're built for it, you're never gonna. If they say you can play, but you might tear your Achilles and you might be out all year. The trues, the real ones are gonna go out there. You don't want a guy that's like, oh shit, I'm not playing. That's how you get Bradley Beal. That's how you get Scottie Pippen.
Yep.
That's how you get cats like these, which your team loves to sign to multi-year contract.
And trade those multi-year contracts.
I mean, you guys might not be number one, but you're number one in giving out shitty contracts. And listen, Chris Middleton just re-signed. Just if there was a doubt, Washington fans, if you guys were thinking, hey, maybe Chris Middleton will just like opt out and we'll get some cap space because he's got a player contract. No, he picked up his player option for $30 million. So at least you got a world champion on your team for next season.
Look, as soon as we didn't get the number 2 pick or the number 1 pick, as soon as we didn't get a top 5 pick, I'm all in on let's just go get John Wall. Where's he at? Bring him back. Get Gilbert Arenas off the get Gil off the podcast. Let's bring him back one more time. He should be allowed. I don't know. He might be.
Oh my God! Imagine Gilbert and Wall were on the same team.
Holy shit! Let's just take the Beal contract back from Phoenix. Let's just do it. Let's just run it back. See what happens.
Why not? Like why
not?
Why not? Because he's not going back to DC after leaving in Phoenix because you guys gave him a fucking no trade clause for some reason. No,
he's loving that. Yeah, he's good with that. Yeah. But no, I really did I did enjoy this, and I think that it's great for both markets. I think it's great for both teams. It sucks for Indiana because it's very rare that you lose 2 seasons in one night, right? Like, you just lost your championship and you're not doing much of shit next year. Unfortunately, you might still, because it's the East, the Pacers will still make the playoffs, but it's not going to be a run. So that does make it exciting on 2 fronts from yesterday of how does the Kevin Durant trade affect the West? How did him going to the Rockets and joining a very loaded young roster? How is that going to impact the Thunder's chances next year? And with the Pacers pretty much out now and Celtics kind of in the same boat for next year with the Tatum injury, the East, like you said, is wide open. And this is a very fun outlook for it. It brings me back to the Knicks, even though I cursed you last week for making this show a Knicks show, and then everything, getting my hopes up for them, and then all this shit going on with the coaching. I was like, oh, there we go. There's New York. But it reiterates things that there's no reason for the Knicks to make a trade like that Durant trade, I guess, right now, when the East is going to be so blown open that core that you all have in New York could make a run. I think that you all could make a run through the East next year and potentially vie for that championship. Cleveland could do the same, but they look like more of a regular season team. And the Magic made their move. We'll see how that works for them. There's a lot of pieces. Of course, the Miami Heat are going to be in the play-in tournament again, and then who knows what'll happen. It's just what they do. It's the Miami Heat Invitational. So we'll see where that all goes. But I guess that's where I moved to this next thing. What were your thoughts on the KD trade? How do you think it's going to affect the West next year? How do you think the East is going to turn out next year? What are you looking forward to with 2026 and 2025?
See, so number one, that it's not often that you lose 2 seasons in one night. That's the type of clippable content that I'm talking about there, Reed. That's a good one. I like that. So if pre game 7, I would have told you. If pre finals, like before the finals, I would have told you the Magic and Cleveland are going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals next year. It would have been like, no, what about New York? What about Indiana? You know, now that's not as ridiculous. Houston in the Western Conference Final, that would have been, you know, shit. You know, with Durant now, that's an interesting one. The most interesting thing to me is like I said, the windows are shorter. So you have the OKC window. But OKC never made the move that Houston just did, because OKC never traded for Durant, never traded for that similar player, and they decided to keep building. Houston had all these chips, had all these draft picks, somehow doesn't include Jabari Smith or some of Phoenix's own picks. Like, Phoenix didn't even ask for their own picks back. They built this trade around Jalen Green. And basically Dylan Brooks, just so they can have like a LeBron tormentor, I guess, in Phoenix to ride with Booker. And I don't know what they're trying to do over there in Phoenix. Houston activates their window by making a trade for 37-year-old Durant, right? They're basically saying Van Fleet, Durant, some of our other pieces, or they could take Van Fleet to try to move for somebody else and take some of their other pieces and go, like, they could go fully all in, and try to get somebody to run with Durant. And I think the West is going to be super interesting. It's OKC, it's Houston, it's whatever trade that the NBA makes the overrides in 2K for the Lakers. Override. This trade has been rejected. Override. And then what happens from there? The East, wide open. This is why Milwaukee will probably not trade Giannis, because why would you? With Giannis and the 3-2-3, we could get to the play-in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, Giannis and all the 3-2-3 players, and we'd make the play-in. You know, we'd make it interesting in the play-in. I mean, I can hit free throws at least. I
think we could get Zoo at center.
Zoo at center, you know.
Scott will have that. Scott will have that good like TJ McConnell minute.
Yeah, I'm like Oakley, man. I can't jump for a phone book, but I'll foul the fuck out of some people coming in the lane. You know? So you got Milwaukee with Giannis, and then you have Dame coming off of a fucking Achilles, Haliburton, and Tatum all gone. 3 of the top wing scorers, creators in the East gone for the full year next year. So those 3 teams are taking a step back, but Milwaukee still has a chance. New York, if New York knows that if this happens, if New York waits till after the finals to fire Tibbs, do they even fire him now? Or they're like, fuck it, you know what? The East is weak. We can run it back one more year. Other than going out and flirting with fucking Jason Kidd and fucking all these coaches, we're not going to get looking like a fool, looking like we didn't have a plan after we fired Tibbs. And Cleveland, which is the only real team that's like, fuck it, you know what? I think we're just going to run this back, because we had bad luck. We lost against Indiana. They're gone. We don't know what we would have looked like against Boston. They're weaker. We don't know what we would have looked like against New York. They're weak. They're stable, and they didn't really play up to their potential. And who knows what the fuck the coach is going to be. And Orlando put some of their chips in. They make the trade. And Cleveland, those are the 2 teams that probably will sneak into the top 4. So I think it's going to be a shootout between Cleveland, New York, and Orlando all year. Milwaukee as the dark horse. Boston and Indiana taking step back. Brooklyn, another wild card, depending on what they do. You know, so if Brooklyn tries to go all in for the Giannis trade, if Brooklyn, you know, tries to go all in on another trade, is Phoenix really committed to building around Booker and Dillon? Because honestly, they should be trading Booker and Dillon, and Jalen, who are all players that can play on a playoff team, and trade them to other teams,
right?
And just fucking fucking launch in the desert. San Antonio, there was a moment where we were thinking that maybe they were going to get Giannis. That's an interesting team on a come up, but I think they might follow more the OKC model, where they got a lot of chips to play, but they just fucking lucked into the second pick of the draft. So why wouldn't they just stand at 2, take the pick? They got like 3 or 4 pieces already, and just say, all right, OKC next year is going to be a prohibitive favorite to run it back. Our window probably starts in 2 years once they start having some cap problems and start replacing some of their pieces. At that point, we'll have peak big boy Frenchie, and we'll see what's available there.
You got to remember, Wemby's in his monk state now too. Went to China.
Growing.
Yeah, he went to China, shaved his head. That's when you always get scared of these players, when they shave their head. Shaved his head, went to a Buddhist temple and everything. He said he doesn't know if he's Buddhist or not yet. They made him say something in Chinese. He doesn't know what he said.
So the trade, the Knicks trade was it wasn't even Towns for Durant straight up, which is what I had heard. It was OG and Robinson, which I would have preferred not to give up, honestly. And I think New York just flat said no. Miami's trade was shit. So my question to you, Reed, is did Phoenix get enough for Kevin Durant? And why didn't Washington offer more?
I'm trying to think of what Washington could offer. There was this report that Washington was going to try to move up for number 2, and that they were willing to offer anything. And people brought up the point. They were like, "Is there anything on Washington that you don't give up for the number 2 pick? You have to." So yeah, we could have given up like the whole roster for Durant and just build our old head roster around him. But did Phoenix get enough back? Man, like compared
to what they gave away, like compared to what they sent out a few years ago.
Right. That's the thing. Like when you're accounting for that too, no, I don't think that there was a chance for the Suns to really make back what they had already given up and what has been given up to try and build this. I'm in the camp with you that I do believe they should trade Booker too. Just go ahead, do a hard reset on this. But I'm in the camp. I'm in the minority. Or it seems like minority right now too, of some of the people that love Jalen Green. I really like Jalen Green. I think that's a good pickup for you. Dylan Brooks, you're still gonna get something from him. You're still gonna have fun. It kind of reminds me a little. It reminds me a little bit of the Wizards, like trying to run it out with Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma and shit, because especially if Phoenix gets rid of Booker, like that's what you're going to get. And I guess you can just try and build up and hope that they're going to go through there. Their owner, Matt Ishbia, says he learned his lesson about getting too involved. So he got back involved. He realized he needs to be more involved with this and
I learned my lesson, and I didn't go hard enough.
I need to go harder. So, no, I think Phoenix is one of these teams. Somebody offered the question the other day of what teams have the worst outlook. And I'll ask it back to you. Like, does Phoenix have the worst outlook in the league in terms of a team that's just going to be in some type of perpetual hell, or it's going to continue to have owner interference ruin them? They're not going to contend for shit, or they're going to contend just enough that, it kills them. To me, that team is the Pelicans. New Orleans Pelicans, I think, are in a worse state than probably just about anybody. I think they've fucked up all of their picks. I think that, whatever's going on with Zion, we won't dive into that legal status and everything there, but your star, it's not working out. That's been a bust for you. Nobody wants to play there. Shitty branding. Like, it's bad overall for the Pelicans. So could it be worse for Phoenix? Yes. I think that it could be New Orleans, it could be Chicago that's in this perpetual limbo too. It could be Washington. It could be you could be like the Wizards on there. I don't know. I don't know if they're in a worse state than Phoenix. I would only say that because Phoenix has Devin Booker, but who knows for how long that's going to be. I don't know. Do you think that the Suns could wind up in a good place, or is this just going to be another team that we continue to see, owner interference and all this outside shit continue to cause them to have a terrible run?
I mean, that's a bottom three right there: Phoenix, Washington, and New Orleans. Listen. Anytime you can go to New Orleans and eat nothing but po' boys and bang OnlyFans models, then you got to do it if you're Zion. I mean, come on, man. And you do that for 3 years, and then they offer you another $250 million. And they're like, we know you haven't gotten in shape. We know you've only played like 15% of the games. We know your knee could explode at any second. We know you're fat. We know you have issues off the court. Here's another $300 million, just because you're talented. My God,
bad.
Yeah, I mean, what? I mean, good for people. I mean, fuck it, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
I am pro nepotism for Black and brown people, as well as giant, fucking multi-generational money for Black and brown people. I'm all for that. So. I'm not going to deny the man his money because that's the league and they wouldn't be giving out that money if they didn't have it. But it is a shit organization that turns Anthony Davis into like Brandon Ingram, has the pick, takes Zion. He shits the bed. I was actually thinking about who would trade for Zion. I was like, what if Boston traded like Jaylen Brown for Zion and a bunch of picks and just punted on 20, next year. And try to see what Zion could do in another team. They seem committed to the bit in an astonishing way. I think the difference in the NBA right now is that the in-between teams are the ones that are constantly getting fucked. The teams that are just trying to compete and put out a winning team despite their location and their obvious inadequacies and obvious factors against them. So you should do one or two things. You should do what OKC does and just trade out, do the Sam Presti model, build, trade again, build, absorb contracts, get picks. Or you have teams like they're in the middle, like Washington, Sacramento to a certain degree, other teams like that, Milwaukee before Giannis and, Orlando before they started getting better, that just try to compete despite, and then just the Knicks. The Knicks were a team that refused to bottom out, didn't have the superstar, but every year would continue to keep trying. Well, who's the best free agent this year? Let's go get him. And, that's how you end with, oh, fuck, we got rejected again. That's how you end up with Amari Stoudemire and his knees versus LeBron. And that's how you end up with fucking Julius Randle instead of fucking Kyrie and KD. So I think, but the second part of that is I've heard good things about the Washington GM. The evolution of the Knicks, how they're viewed because of their management has changed over the last couple of years. Milwaukee, other teams. So, it's harder to be dumb this these days. And like you said, Sam Presti disciples, other people are out there. They're money balling basketball right now, right? So I think that the new model has to be break it all down, burn it all to the ground, absorb contracts, absorb other people's mistakes, and build, especially under like a hard cap that basically the NBA is in a de facto hard cap right now. And I think that unless you're a team like the Lakers and other teams that's going to get gifted top fucking players because of your standing, or Boston and shit like that, you got to just tear it down and bring. And Phoenix, to close out your point, is a team that is stuck in that middle ground, in that 5, 6, 7 play-in range. If you're in the bottom half of the draw, then you need to fucking, unless you're Indiana and you got a low-key superstar, Devin Booker could be that guy, but I think you just have to tank. You have to fucking sell it all, and you have to, and I think Phoenix, Utah, there's a lot of organizations that are in cities, Indiana, where the team is going to be good or bad. People are still going to come out, right? Yep. There's front runner cities like Miami is a front runner city. LA is a front runner city where the attendance will wane in Miami. Miami sucks and they win 19 games. Guess what? Fucking Mom Swap Arena is going to be fucking empty. But if they're good, then fucking, Nebraska Arena is going to be fucking full, So I think that there's front runner cities like Miami. There's no matter what cities like Utah, New York, Boston, where, Chicago's up and down because they had Michael Jordan. So what the fuck, You're like, we did that, we're good, So some of these in Phoenix too, I think it's a thing where there's not a passionate basketball thing in some of these cities, but it's the team and we're going to support them. Especially if you're in one of those cities, then I think there's an OKC. They're happy to have a fucking team. They're going to fill out the stand. They're going to make it a college atmosphere because that's who they are. If you're in one of those cities, especially if you're in one of those small market cities, there is no other plan to lure free agents. There is only the destroy and rebuild. And Phoenix needs to embrace that.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's the most that you can hope for with that. And some teams need to do that. That was my, we shit on Washington and we shit on the Wizards and everything, but that has been my saving grace with that team. I truly hated being in the Purgatory with Bradley Beal and with John Wall before that, where you knew that they were never going to be enough, that this team was not going to make that kind of run. Yes, you could have some fun, you could get to the playoffs, but they would always get there messy. And then they try to reload and say that this is a missing piece. We need a missing piece. We need fucking almost aged out Paul Pierce. Let's bring him in here. All this kind of shit. I wanted them to just finally accept it. Accept that the team is shit. Accept that you've handed out these terrible contracts and just burn it down and rebuild and hope for the best in the future. Just bottom out. And that's what they did finally do. And getting rid of those contracts was a miracle. Getting rid of those contracts is a miracle. And, settling for some shitty contracts, but less than what was terrible with Beal and Wall, and Kuzma and Poole, and just having some tank commanders and getting some young guys some minutes and seeing what they can build. I actually watched a couple games and they were fun this year. They had some fun in seeing especially these young French dudes on the team, where we've become the Wizards and have managed to, actually give some, not hope, but at least the idea that let's just bottom out and be a shit team instead of a purgatory team, and maybe the shit team will be able to grow into something eventually. That's all I can hope for, and maybe that's what we'll see with the Suns, and see Devin Booker go somewhere and help launch somebody instead of just being some shit team in the West that makes it into the 8th seed or something, as opposed to, like we said with Milwaukee, where I feel like we've seen now with this East opening wide open, next to no reason for Milwaukee outside of Giannis just putting his foot down and saying, I want to go. No reason to trade him. No reason to trade him right now because it's Giannis. And like you said, our team, who is it? It's Giannis, obviously, you, me, Scott, and Zoo. So yeah, Scott. We could, we'll rock this. We got this. We got this with Giannis. Get out of here.
Hand in the cookie jar. I got it.
We'll handle the games, and then the dudes that are on the team right now, we'll put we'll have guest hosts. Dame and Giannis. Dame and his brother can host the show. They can do the NFL coverage.
The Giannis podcast is gonna be fucking litty.
Oh, it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be lit. Hey, to close out here, because I want to venture into something that was brought up on the show last week when we had Zoo and Scott back on. And Zoo, we brought up the NBA, and Zoo, as a sports fan but a casual more hockey fan than basketball fan, he could not find any interest in these NBA finals. He couldn't find any interest in the NBA as a whole this season because of just everything that we've talked about with the marketing, with the focus on, Curry and LeBron and those dudes, and kind of having a refusal to move on and find that next move. It's almost like the NBA when Jordan retired, of trying to find who's that next person who's going to fill in here. Like the NBA is in this weird place, and I think I can merge these rants where I've had issues with ESPN and ESPN's coverage of the NBA and ESPN's coverage as a whole with, that's where this show started, in trying to not be the hot take thing, the hot take factory, the screaming at each other, just, digging in on something that is probably wrong, but you got to fight about it because that's what the culture has become in sports media. And with Stephen A. leading that charge.
The Lakers worth $10 billion.
That's what we're going to talk about. The first take. And, pushing somebody like Max Kellerman out, who I really liked and I thought had some good educated takes and shit, but that doesn't fit in there. You see their lead dude, Stephen A., playing solitaire during a game because he doesn't give a shit about these teams. He barely knows who's on the Knicks, and that's supposed to be his expertise. That's supposed to be his team. He didn't know who Isaiah Hartenstein was last year. He was trying to figure out who the hell that was. And, when your lead media partner is ESPN, and it's, going out of its way to kind of make the coverage about itself, as opposed to about these teams and about these potential young superstars and Tyrese Haliburton and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, they were calling Tyrese Haliburton a choker about 2 weeks ago.
Most overrated player.
Yeah, they were going over that. And it was like, it's insane that that's the route we go. And then they talk about, what does Dak Prescott need to do to win a Super Bowl? You can understand why the NFL tells them, hey, you could have Monday Night Football, keep your hands off of it, though. We're going to produce it. Same thing with the Masters. We're going to produce that. I don't know if the NBA needs to start taking hold, bringing in a new media team, media executives into the fold to start running things and making the NBA more of an event and making their games feel more important. I don't know if they need to lower the amount of games here in the league, because maybe that's a problem. Maybe there's so many regular season games that people don't give a shit about. That why tune in on a random, Wednesday night or Tuesday night that they do games in the NBA on ESPN? All-Star games and All-Star weekend is a disappointment now. Even the finals coverage, we talked about how uneventful that felt and how unexciting it felt for this. It took them a shit ton of complaining just to be able to get the finals logo on the court again. Why would you not have the finals logo on the court? That's one of the biggest things right there. Or show me, last night, show the player introductions and starting lineup introductions. That got me a little hyped up. That gave me some chills hearing the Thunder announced that way. There's so many things that they could do to get better with this, and they're bringing inside the NBA, that crew, over to ESPN starting next year, and I don't even know if that's a fix because most of them seem to hate the sport currently. There's a lot that's part of the problem, where a lot of the analysts seem to hate what the sport is in present day because there are a lot of old heads on there. I would like to see somebody more like, Kevin Garnett, get a chance out there. I'd like to see, not necessarily Richard Jefferson and Doris Burke calling the games where they're trying to outdo each other on, some catchphrases and shit, and kind of killing Mike Breen's enthusiasm. Because how do you kill the enthusiasm of somebody that screams "bang" all the time? That's my guy. And there's no excitement from him anymore. I don't know how you feel about it. Maybe you find the excitement in the league still. For me, but I see what Zoo's point is, and I really have been racking my brain in free time trying to figure out how do you fix the NBA's excitement issue right now.
I think that, there's been a lot of thought pieces and breakdowns on what the league could do. Obviously, number one, go to like 72 games, and change the schedule around. The league starts in October, middle of fucking season. It finishes when it's like the, middle of baseball season, when we're getting worried about football and stuff again during fantasy drafts and shit like that. So there's definitely a thing where the league could make little changes, but the problem is that they're only willing to make little changes that equate to money, like the early season tournament, like adding more games, like going to China, like doing all this shit. And they don't really care about the presentation or about what people like, because money. That's why they went away from the person who produces and markets and shows us the NBA in its best light, which is TNT, and the NBA shows that they have. And they went with the money of ESPN, which turns everything that they get into one long commercial of shit with these short segments and no real conversations, and has to be a hot take, has to be a clippable thing. It has to be, and again, like you said, when there are no stories, it defaults to Cowboys, Yankees, Knicks for clicks. They default to, how does this affect the new, so I think less greed is always the answer for sports leagues, because they can say all they want that the data doesn't show that extra games produces injuries. Well, that's just dumb, because we all know that 10 extra games is going to do something to you. So 10 games, if there's 72 games, like, you're going to make it up in a TV package. You're going to make up that money with higher ratings. You know what I mean? Make those games more of an event. The NFL survives on 8 games, 10 games, they obviously, but they want more. And then again, it's the scheduling of where these games are happening, and when the season starts, when the middle of it is, when we want to be the most excited. And listen, you can't be in the model like it's the 1990s and you have Michael Jordan on your league anymore. You are going against football, which for whatever reason became the top dog in such a manner that fucking, preseason games beat like NBA finals and World Series games. And the NBA has a problem, because I feel like even today, if you showed people a picture of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, or what's the other guy, Jalen Jackson, right?
Jalen Williams.
Jalen Williams. If you showed people a picture of Jalen Williams or Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese, how many people would pick out the world champion? Even Shea, even if it was Shea Gilgeous, how many people would know that was Shea Gilgeous versus people that would know that's Caitlin Clark?
Exactly. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what Jalen Williams looks like.
But he scored 40 points in an NBA Finals the other night, right? Second best player on a fucking championship team in 2025, and you couldn't pick him out of a lineup.
Nope.
And I had not seen him take a jump shot my entire life up until that 40-point game, right? So how is the NBA thinking in its best interest? They're just thinking about the next TV contract. They're just thinking about parity. To them, what they're promising is parity. What they're promising is prohibitive rules so that players stick with their teams, so that you can do the OKC model. That's what they're promising. And the only team that's outside of that model is the Los Angeles Lakers with their override button. That's it. That's the league that they want. And they feel that in this age, they're going to make it's more worthwhile for them to take the money and continue to expand eventually to get to overseas NBA, et cetera, than it is to take small changes now that might take a step back, but that would grow the game. Same thing with the rules and the game changing from the meta of penetration and 2 points to of shooting a billion threes, which is the most boring thing to watch. Unless the league is willing to take steps to change the schedule, lower the number of games, change where the season ender starts, market the right players, and take a look seriously at rules that'll change the game back to what it is that we fell in love with, then there's no hope.
Well, that's the kind of positive outlook we love to end the show on. No hope. We got no hope. But football season's on the horizon.
Was that basketball or a political rant? Sorry.
It's all, that's the that's the tagline we go on 2025. No hope. No hope anymore.
Listen, the meteors are on their way, guys.
That's the hope, honestly. Like, I'm waiting for the aliens, man. The aliens, change it up. Might already be here. I think they play in San Antonio. Oh, folks, you know what you can hope for. You can hope to see more of this wonderful guy. This guy right here, Big Chief Burrito, Luis Martinez. Luis, where can people see you and find more of you at?
2amburrito.net is a new website where you can check out links to all the 2AM Burrito movies. Also, there's links to my podcast, Mi Gente Show, news and culture from a Latino perspective. And you can also watch my feature film, Blacklisted, directed by yours truly, Luis Martinez, on Amazon, where you can rent or buy it. And you'll hear me talking sports and talking shit with the boys at the 323.
That's right. And you can catch the boys at the 323 on the 323 Network YouTube page. Go subscribe, rate, comment, all that stuff. Share it, please share it. We love it when you share it. And, of course, at 323 Read, at 323 REID on all social media, at 323 College Shame Day on Instagram is where you're going to start to see the college football stuff appear again as we're getting closer into football season and that kind of excitement. We got a lot of more fun stuff coming for you, especially with sports. Pretty much, sports is over as far as I'm concerned. NBA Finals, Stanley Cup Finals are done. So you're going to get a lot more.
Is this going to turn into a political reactionary warmongering podcast?
It might have to be. This might have to be. Yeah, maybe we're going to be like we'll be the new like Daily Bugle, Alex Jones kind of shit. Yeah, we'll put.
There's more money in the right wing grift.
Look, I've been calling for a fake news show with Zoo where we call it Fake Zoos. And I think it would be great. So that could be the market. But we'll be getting into I'm sure there will be plenty that we need to talk about in the culture and the political realm, but we'll also give you that escape in pop culture and some good movies coming out. And of course, Diddy or didn't he is the next game that we'll play.
Diddly?
It's what we'll find out.
Diddy or diddly?
Diddy or diddly. So follow us there and give us a like, share us, and stick around with us. We appreciate you listening to us, watching us wherever it is you do. And, of course, we will talk to you soon. Luis, thank you for being here, my guy. Thank you as always. And all you folks out there, stay safe, stay cool. And, don't melt out there. Don't worry about the war. We're all going to be happy together. We'll have peace, and the meteors will come at some point. We got a duck. That means things are all right. Stay safe, folks.
It's snowing in California. God damn it.